Good morning, I'm Alexis Del Cid, and today we bring you an encore presentation of one of our very favorite episodes of All Things Heart. Our team is working hard behind the scenes this summer to bring you more amazing stories when our live programming returns in September. However, if there's an urgent update from the health system, we will be here to let you know first. Until then, enjoy this encore presentation and make it a great day.
Feels good.
You're watching History in the Making, the first patient ever at the University of Kansas Health System to walk while on this type of ECMO. On today's All Things Heart, we'll explain why this was so incredible, and you'll learn this patient's remarkable story of survival. Good morning, I'm Alexis Del Cid. Welcome back to All Things Heart. VA ECMO is a mechanical way doctors can keep patients alive when their heart isn't working. It gives your heart and lungs a break from working overtime, and in most cases, when someone's on it, they'll stay in bed and they won't move very much at all. Not Richard Johnson.
If you don't know exactly what's happening here, you may think it's simply a patient surrounded by his care team, which is true. He's lucid.
You ready to come up?
Yeah.
Even has a sense of humor.
How are you feeling?
Never thought of that. I was focused on that.
But patient Richard Johnson is about to make history.
1, 2, 3, push on up. Be stronger.
You're watching the first patient ever at the University of Kansas Health System to walk while on this kind of ECMO.
Here you go.
Good job, Daddy.
It's been a journey. It's been a heck of a ride.
A heck of a ride is exactly how this free spirit would describe the past few months. But his wife, Marcy, who happens to be a cardiac rehab nurse, says her free-spirited husband can also be incredibly stubborn.
I had asked him to come with me to the hospital for about 2 weeks straight, almost going on 3 weeks. So
Yeah, I wasn't going to admit that.
We'll explain VA ECMO in a little bit, but the events leading up to all this began way back in 2007. That's when Richard was first diagnosed with congestive heart failure. He successfully managed it for years with a pacemaker and medication. Doing so well, he moved to Maui to teach surfing and lead kayaking and whale watching excursions. It's where he met his wife, Marcy, who, as fate would have it, was his next-door neighbor.
Of all the stars we collided.
They fell in love through their shared love of the ocean. What sealed it for Marcy was when Richard pulled a diamond out of the ocean and gave it to her. No, really.
one day I had lost my real diamond as we were snorkeling, and I kind of was like panicked because I couldn't believe I left him in and went, into the ocean. And so he goes down, and in all this sand
And reef, yeah.
he finds his diamond, and right away I started thinking, oh my gosh, isn't this the guy? He got me jewelry out of the ocean.
Even when Richard's heart did become an issue, as much as he didn't want to face it, ultimately they moved back to the Kansas City area to be near Richard's grown children. Marcy began working at the University of Kansas Health System. Then late one night in August 2024, Richard finally agreed to go to the hospital to be checked out.
I'm the guy that won't go to the hospital unless I'm dying. Well, apparently I was.
Richard was told he needed a heart transplant, and not only that, he was immediately placed on veno-arterial ECMO, or VA ECMO. The ECMO was a large and intimidating-looking machine that would keep him alive until he could get a heart. The VA part of it meant 2 cannulas the size of garden hoses were inserted into each side of Richard's groin, pumping blood from his femoral vein out to the machine to filter it, then back through the cannula on the other side into his femoral artery, where it was pumped back to his aorta.
And then they sew that tubing down to your leg. They stitch it into your skin so it doesn't move. It can't move. So it's pinned on both sides. I couldn't really move that much of my legs.
As you can imagine, it did not feel good. Richard would need to lie motionless with the tubes sewn into his legs until he could get a new heart. So imagine his care team's surprise when just 3 days in,
I was like, I've got to move. And every time I move, everyone's like, don't move, don't move. And
Richard asked his doctor, Dr. Tyler Zorn, if there was any way he could get up and walk.
he said no one had done it, and I said, well, I'll do it. Let's go.
Which brings us to this historic moment. He only made it a few feet the first time. The second time, he made it all the way down the hall. And finally, on September 1st, Richard got his new heart.
And apparently my heart was very big. Like, usually you can put it in a little pan, and he literally had to get a bucket.
Doctors later told him that heart arrived just in the nick of time.
I guess I only had about 4 hours left of ECMO before that was it. That was my number would have been up.
Today, with his wife by his side, Richard vows to honor his donor every day by embracing his second chance at life.
I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything that's, going to damage this organ.
He also has plans to honor his donor by taking his donor's heart to the ocean so Richard can take them both surfing.
I'm not going to do big things, but this person is definitely going to surf.
We are so happy to have Richard, his new heart, and his cardiothoracic surgeon, Dr. Tyler Zorn, joining us in the studio. Richard, how are you feeling today?
Great. Yeah, I feel really good.
You've got some envy of your friends who are still in Hawaii because you were showing us pictures of dolphins that they've recently taken, and you can't wait to get back there.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm ready to go, for sure.
Marcy had tried, I got to get this in. Marcy was going to join us this morning, but she's a rehab nurse, a cardio rehab nurse, and work gets in the ways of our show sometimes. So she's very busy. She wishes she could be here, but she's here in spirit. She's working in the same building. She had tried for weeks to get you to go to the hospital. Looking back, why do you think you avoided it?
I wouldn't call it denial. I knew I was sick. I mean, when I had to sit up to sleep, it was just getting bad. And that one morning when I woke up really early, I was just like, I gotta do something about this. I can't not do it anymore. I couldn't make it up the steps, after I went to the bathroom or whatever. So it was just, I knew it was bad.
Dr. Zorn, when you hear a patient saying they had to sit up to sleep, they couldn't make it up the steps, their wife was begging them to go to the hospital, does that make your heart pound a little bit?
I mean, unfortunately, it's a situation we see often, especially, us probably as males too. We want to wait till the last minute to seek help. Just believe that we can sleep it off or be better. But
do you even do that when your wife tells you to go to the doctor?
Of course. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah,
okay. All right. So it's not just you guys watching. Yeah. Now, Richard had a pacemaker already. So why didn't the pacemaker prevent his heart from failing?
Pacemakers just meant to either help a heartbeat that doesn't have a normal rhythm, or sometimes in patients with heart failure they have an abnormally wide QRS pattern, which is a type of EKG pattern that we can helpfully optimize the heart rhythm a little bit. And then ultimately that device also has a defibrillator in place that is a prevention device to where if the heart does go into a malignant rhythm like ventricular fibrillation, it can shock them into place. So it can help the heart a little bit, but it's not going to be something that fixes everybody. So
your symptoms for 2 weeks, Marcy was trying to get you to go to the hospital. When do you think you really hit the skids? Like your health started failing and you, looking back, should have gone to the doctor?
Well, I noticed it when, like I said, when I had to stop 3 times after, just to go to the bathroom or whatever, just walking. I get short of breath, no energy. It was getting pretty bad, and that's when I decided. I said, hey, something's got to be done because it's not getting better. And like the doctor said, I thought for years I did get it better, and I thought I could do it again, but this time it was just too far gone to.
How had it worked for years when you say you did get it better for years?
Exercise, the medication that I took and exercise, it worked. I worked really hard to get my EF back up, the ejection fraction, back up to, 54%, I think is what I got it up to. And it was really good, and it kept that way for a long time. But we always knew it was going to fail. It's not, when you have congestive heart failure, it doesn't just heal. It continues to deteriorate, yeah.
When it comes to ECMO, a lot of people without medical backgrounds had never heard of ECMO until the pandemic. Then we started hearing about it, keeping people alive, and we saw the videos. So Dr. Zorn, as we look at this picture of Richard on VA ECMO, can you tell us what is the difference between a ventilator and VA ECMO?
The ventilator is just that blue and white circuit that you see there going from, it's essentially a breathing machine that breathes air into the patient's lungs and receive air as it comes out, and just meant to help the patient's mechanics of breathing while they can't do it on their own. And so when we think about VA ECMO, it's a way to do the work that the lungs are doing when the ventilator is not necessarily enough. And that's what we're talking about VV ECMO, is when we talk about the COVID days, is most of those patients were being supported just with lung support. And so you take blood from the venous system, blood going back to the heart, and then you also put it right back into that same side. So it pumps blood through the lungs the same way, but it's already oxygenated and it's already had the carbon dioxide removed from it.
So is VA ECMO another step of care when even regular ECMO isn't working?
So it's when you're using it for a different mode of support. For Richard, he needed it to support his heart, and so you can't place a person on just lung support or VV ECMO when you need to support the heart as well. So it's just, VA ECMO is where we drain the blood coming back to the heart, and then we give it to, we essentially bypass the heart and we put it in the arterial side, so we can provide a steady stream of blood flow in a pressurized way, so that all his brain, kidneys, all of his organs of his abdomen can receive the blood flow they need, while his heart isn't strong enough to pump it.
That's where the tubes come in.
That's where the tubes come in.
Through sewn, as you say, into your groin, which sounds, when people hear that, it sounds so uncomfortable, but even you cringe when you hear that. It's a lot.
Gardanos it makes it sound pretty invasive. They may not be that big, but they're pretty close.
How big are they?
The tube that drains the venous side is probably, it's dime size, nickel size probably.
Hose.
Yeah, small garden
Bigger
hose.
than you want.
The one on the other side's probably not as big, thankfully, but
wow.
Yeah, it is. It is invasive.
What's the last thing you remember, Richard, before being placed on VA ECMO?
Well, I remember him talking about it. I just remember the look on my wife's face, and my daughter's actually a cardiac nurse. She's a traveling nurse as well, and everyone else, all the other kids were kind of excited, to hear this is going to, keep you alive, whatever. And I was too. I was, that it's going to, keep me going until I can get a heart. But they knew that once that was in there, then the clock started, because you can only be on it for so long. So they kind of knew the clock had started, and they were concerned about that.
So some of your family members were yay, and the others were you saw their faces kind of fall.
Yeah, the other kids they were excited about it, and so was I. I was happy to hear it. I had no idea that, I was made aware of it later. That this is you've got however long it takes. It could be a month, I guess, or a couple weeks or whatever. But I was always confident. I was always very confident.
That's something I remember you saying when we first met you. That you, even though everyone around you was nervous, you always felt and knew in your heart it was going to work.
Yeah,
it was going to work out.
There was never a point where I thought I was going to die. I trusted this team, and they're a great team. They're just, everything they did was above board. They even afterwards, even in the rehab, part of it, it was all very well. It was kind of funny because I thought Dr. Shaw was just a very attentive doctor. I didn't realize, but he told me later that he was very concerned. Every 4 or 3 hours he was in my room, and it was like, wow, this guy I guess he likes me or something. He's like, no, you were the sickest dude in the hospital. He's like, you were the sickest man here.
Is that, you agree?
That's accurate. We had tried other modalities to support Richard, a pump even in his heart, and with that he was still having arrhythmias, he was still having, marginal cardiac outputs, and so that's when we had another option as he continued to deteriorate, and with that he was incredibly well supported, to the point that we're talking about him walking around
he's
today.
here, and he looks amazing. When was the last time you guys saw each other?
It was his initial hospitalization for his transplant. Last time. He certainly looks different. So
You look
in a good way.
fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks.
When we first met you 4 or 5 months ago, your coloring looks even better than it did then. When you place someone on VA ECMO, Dr. Zorn, are they sedated? Are they in a light sedation, heavily sedated?
It depends. Most people are sedated when they go on VA ECMO. So go to the operating room and are fully asleep for it.
And then you open your eyes and you're just got tubes everywhere.
Well, a lot of people that are on VA ECMO, and this is why we worry about it and don't just do it in everybody, one, because it's garden hoses and it's invasive, and it's why this story is special, is because most people, once they go on VA ECMO, they don't even get the breathing tube out. Now we're getting more progressive in what we do and how we take care of people, so we're extubating more people, as we say, or getting them off that breathing machine we talked about earlier. And now we're getting to the point where we're mobilizing people on VA ECMO, which is incredibly important because, like you're saying, that clock starts, and it's amazing how deconditioned people can get just by lying in bed, waiting for an organ or waiting for whatever.
When you talk about the clock starts ticking, how much time do you have? Is there a set amount of time once a patient like Richard is on VA ECMO where you've got to get a heart in them?
The clock is really the race against complications associated with being on VA ECMO. And, nothing we do in the hospital is free. There's risks associated with it. And certainly the longer you're on that device, the more you can get complications with bleeding, complications with leg issues. You can get complications with just being in bed for a while and everything that comes with just being in the hospital and being critically ill. And so that's really what we're up against now. Obviously in the COVID days, as we talked about prior, people are being supported on VV ECMO for prolonged periods of times, months. VA ECMO is not like that. Most people don't stay on VA ECMO support for an extended amount of time like that. But what's the longest you can stay on VA ECMO?
You don't want to find out?
Yeah, probably weeks more, less, not as much months.
So when Richard, 3 days in to VA ECMO, and you're talking about how it's a big deal when someone's just not intubated anymore. He's not only not intubated, he says, I want to get up and walk. What did you think when you heard him say that?
So me, I was excited because I think this is I see Richard, I see a chance for this program to grow because they're doing this in other places, in a lot of the more progressive, really advanced centers that are utilizing ECMO a lot, and we do here, but there are centers that are placing people on ECMO a lot more than we are here, and they have seen the benefits of mobilization and prehabilitation, as they call it, and so to be able to kind of advance our program was exciting for me. So
we had a question about this actually from a viewer, but I'm going to ask it right now. What are the benefits to Richard being able to get up and walk and move before his heart transplant?
I think it balances out those risks a little bit. If you can keep a person moving and walking every day, then you don't have to worry about every day them regressing, getting weaker, and getting more debilitated as they face a tremendous operation in the future. But they're actually getting stronger and actually putting themselves in a place for when they do get the heart transplant, they progress through the hospitalization just like they should. We see patients on VA ECMO a lot, unfortunately, that go into the operation. And the sicker you go into the operation, the harder it is on the back end. And some of that you just can't do anything about. But in Richard's case, is you knew he was a motivated guy, ready to get up and move. It almost erased that deficit that we had to start. And so once he got his transplant, he was ready to take off.
Speaking of motivated, usually we hear doctors say they really need to push their patients. You were the opposite. You were really pushing to do new things, and I want to let our viewers listen to what you told your nurses.
Can I just kind of use my knees for a minute? Of
course you can.
See where I'm at. I just want to see I want to see where I'm at. With my strength in my legs. Oh, you don't know how good this feels.
Good. Okay.
It hurts so good.
Yeah. It hurts so good. What did it feel like when you were doing squats?
It was strange. Yeah, they actually had to tell me to stop doing squats because they like save your legs, so you can walk. But it's just every time you move your legs, of course your muscles expand and whatnot. And I could feel the stitches from the hoses. Just
you still have the hoses.
I could feel it moving. Yeah, that's what hurt. The rest of it really didn't hurt, but it was just when you're laying in that bed for that long and you finally get up, it's such a good feeling because you're moving. I mean, you're not just stagnant anymore. But yeah.
And were you exhausted after you got up and moved a little, then you made it down the hall, and then were you totally exhausted after that, or did you want to do it again?
Yeah, when I came back, I was pretty tired. I mean, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but when it was tiring, definitely.
And Dr. Zorn, you'd never seen anyone here at the health system walk on VA ECMO.
Well, we've had
of this kind.
We've had So we've had other. So traditionally, when we talk about patients walking on VA ECMO, they have to have a certain type of what we call configuration. So there's different places these garden hoses can go in, and they can go in the groins, like in Richard's case, in the femoral vessels, but they can also go in neck vessels, sometimes axillary arteries. They can also go directly into the aorta. So we've had one other patient that had a configuration that's what we have thought of in the past as something that's easier to walk people on, but it would be the first time we've had somebody in this configuration that we said, let's get up and try it, because we know we can convert Richard to a different type of configuration. It's a whole nother surgery. It's way more invasive than even the garden hoses in the groin. And does that surgery, provide him benefit to where he can walk? Or if we can do this, then we're already set up and we can just go. We don't have to go through another big intervention in order to get him there. And so. One thing though, if we go back to that video, and I don't know if we're going to cover it, the rest of the show is, when you look at all those people that are around him, those are experienced staff that work with our patients day in and day out, and Richard knows this well because that's what his wife does. But we have perfusion support that's in charge of that machine, the physical therapist. We have the nurse there, Erin Polcini, who's done this at prior institutions. So, and it takes a huge team just around him, making sure that the machine's flowing like it should, the cannulas are in place, they're not doing anything untoward. And so you have to have a willing staff that's in a way not scared, and willing and excited to kind of move the needle, and that's what we did in Richard's case, and so proud of that team.
That's so important, because it is a very specific team. It's not, you didn't just call people out from the hallway and say, hey, help this guy walk. Each person in that video has a specific purpose and a specific job to do to keep Richard safe. Richard, once you were moving, your legs didn't stop though, because we were looking at the video, and even though they had you sit down, you're still kicking your legs back and forth, like you were just determined to keep moving.
It just felt good to move.
Right.
It's like the doctor says, the more you can do before, the better it is on the backside, the more you can do later. And that's exactly how it worked too.
We already have some great questions coming in and some comments from our viewers. So if you have a question or a comment or something you'd like us to read out loud during this program, just send it to us on YouTube, Facebook, or the All Things Heart email. You can use all those ways to connect with us in real time right there on your screen. Dr. Zorn, Richard said you needed a bucket for his old heart. How big was the bucket?
The bucket is usually something that's this size, and so, like he said, some hearts, they come out and they are sick, but they can go in a reasonable size container. But we see some hearts that come out and you're just like, how how is this person living with this organ inside?
How big was the heart?
So,
like, can you estimate with your hands?
I mean, probably it was one of the bigger ones that we've seen. So,
like a football?
I don't know, probably that yay big.
And so how big?
Not anything normal.
How big is a normal heart? A fist?
Probably a fist, more so.
Would it double the size? It should have been triple?
Safely double or triple the size. So, yeah.
Very wet.
But
Wet is wet. I would imagine anything wet coming out of your chest, but was wetter worse? What do you mean by wet?
Bigger, sicker, not moving, really on its last leg. I guess that's why we were doing what we were doing. But but it is amazing that even a month before, this heart was still supporting him, able to get him up and walk. It is an incredible organ and can function until until it can't. But it is.
Mentally,
remarkable.
do you think his mental state helped too? How much do you think that has to do to the physical?
When you don't have to push people every day and they're ready to push themselves, it makes a huge difference in how we take care of patients and how they progress in the hospital.
One of the beautiful things, Richard, you said was you've made a promise to honor your donor by living the best life possible. Have you been able to contact your donor's family yet or reach out to them?
So we have to wait a year, and then I can write a letter. And then they will, the transplant people can approach them, can ask them if we can, if they want to talk or if they want to actually meet or whatever, if they, communicate basically. So I'm just waiting for that point. It's got a few more months. Yeah. You
know what you're going to say? Have you already been crafting it in your mind?
Yeah. I mean, it's what do you say, other than, I'm grateful, thank you, and, I'm going to do everything I can in my power to, keep this going strong, this person. I'm just very thankful, very grateful.
We have some questions from our viewers coming in. Jeremy Yenser writes, well, Richard, sickest guy in the hospital, sounds like the worst award ever, but you look so great now. Could you tell us how you mentally handled or coped with having to feel that stuff all the time? He's talking about the hoses, I imagine. And then Jeremy goes on to write, I get squirmy and wiggly just donating blood for a few minutes, let alone what you had to go through. That's a valid question.
Yeah. Honestly, just with my family around and stuff, I tried to just kind of block it out, just not think about it, just didn't dwell on it. I was thinking about the positive part, about getting better. That's just how I kept it going. I just focused on getting better. Yeah.
Speaking of focusing on getting better, Joan wrote to us and she wants to know how soon until Richard can go surfing again, and has he bought tickets to go back to Hawaii yet?
It's kind of funny. We are going back to Hawaii in 26. I'm going to wait till February 2026. I have to wait about a year, just kind of, that's, they kind of call it the honeymoon period or whatever, just so I know that everything's good. There's no rejection of anyone, which there hasn't been. Everything has been doing very well. But then, in 2026 is when I'm going to go back in February. Yeah.
Does he have to wait to fly anywhere or just surf?
No. I think when he gets up and flies, we just recommend, just like all people when they go on long flights, get up, walk around.
Okay.
Wear a mask.
Yeah. Wear a mask.
Do you always wear a mask on flights to protect your?
I didn't really before, but now that I'm, my immune system, I'm immunosuppressed, so it's very important that I stay. Keep as many bugs out of me as possible, for sure, yeah.
Derek wants to know, is ECMO always used as a bridge to transplant, VA ECMO?
No, not necessarily. So ECMO, and obviously there's different forms. When you support the lungs on ECMO, the goal is to get them to where the lungs can then take back over and do the work as they recover from whatever infection or different process that's causing the lungs to fail. And it's the same with the heart, whether it's recovering from a heart attack that they've had. The goal is always, if we can recover their native heart, to give them, to support them with that as long as they have to, because the transplant is, it's a big operation. You can't just, there's not organs that we can purchase on a shelf, and so, and a lot of times, it's just a temporary thing, and hopefully the heart gets better. But when patients like Richard come in that have already had heart failure for a long period of time, have been on medicines, or you can just look at the heart and you say, this is clearly not something that we're going to be able to treat through, especially as they get sicker and get into kind of shock stages like Richard did. Then you obviously know that's a different patient population that's going to have to progress towards transplant. So
Such a remarkable journey, and that is the coolest video. So thank you for letting us share your journey.
Absolutely, thank you.
As we wrap up this discussion, I would love some final thoughts from Richard and Dr. Zorn. Richard, I want to start with you. What do you want our viewers to know who are watching?
Stay positive. I mean, that's one of the biggest things I could say. You know, someone that's going into a situation like me, I never thought I was going to be here. I was always a great athlete, you know, my whole life pretty much. You know, I never had a problem. I caught a virus, and that's what happened. And attacked my atrium. But I always just stayed positive. You know, exercise, listen to your doctors. Don't, you know, they're doctors for a reason. You're not a doctor, and that's what really helped me out. And work hard at it. You know, when I got out of this, out of the hospital, the cardiac rehab was great. It was wonderful. You know, it really got me going. It motivated me, and it got me back into shape. And now
you're married to a cardiac rehab nurse, so she's not going to let you relax.
I didn't get away with anything. No,
Right.
I definitely didn't. And you know, and I still go to the gym. I walk a lot. You know, I try to golf and whatever I can do to, you know, stay healthy, eat right.
Dr. Zorn, what would you like our audience to know?
I can piggyback on that. I mean, obviously, I'm incredibly grateful to you, Richard. I'm happy to see you and see that you're doing so well. Thankful for you and the contribution you had to our program, you know, to push us to be better than what we were before Richard, and so that's great. And then just to piggyback on that, you know, mindset's everything in the hospital. I tell my patients that all the day, you know, every day is like, keep your head up, you know, stay in the fight, and you know, you do your best today, and then hopefully, you know, I know you don't feel like you want to right now, but we'll get to where we need to get to if you just keep your head in the game. So
you're sitting next to a shining example of that.
Exactly.
Thank you, Dr. Zorn. Thank you, Richard.
Absolutely.